I really love science fiction, and when it comes to Nintendo, I really love Star Fox. Ever since the Switch came out, I've been hoping for a Star Fox game to come out on the Switch, and now it finally has. Open world and full of customization, here is my review of Star Fox Battle for Wait, what? This isn't a Star Fox game? I mean, it looks like one. Look, there's Fox flying around, shooting stuff in an R-Wing. You're sure? Okay. Well, let's try that again. Here is my review of Starlink, not Star Fox, Battle for Atlas for the Nintendo Switch. Battle for Atlas takes place in the star system known as Atlas. A human spaceship is traveling through the system trying to take an alien back to its home planet when they're ambushed and their captain is kidnapped. At the same time, the Star Fox crew is traveling through Atlas trying to find Starwolf and notice the ambush. Coming to aid the human ship, the two crews decide to work together, both helping Star Fox track down Starwolf and them helping the humans get back their captain. I wouldn't call this story great, but I wouldn't call it bad either. There's a lot of charisma in all of the different crew members, all the different quirks with every main character, and there's a lot of extra humor thrown in when all of the different members of the Star Fox team start commenting on what's going on in the story. When it comes to gameplay, Starlink is an open-world 3D flight combat game with RPG elements and toys-to-life elements. Note that I said it has toys-to-life elements because of how the digital version works. When you buy the physical version of Starlink, you've got this mount that you put on your Joy-Con grip, and you have to attach starships and pilots and all these toys to it to use those features in-game. The digital version, you just pull up a menu, equip something, and you're good to go. A lot less time, no toys required. First of all, let's talk about the beauty of the Star Fox crossover in this game. I expected this to be a simple cameo. Have Fox as a playable character, maybe 1 or 2 10-minute missions, and that's it. Not only does the mission campaign for Star Fox account for a good 2 to 3 hours of the game, but the members of Star Fox are inserted into the main story. They appear in a lot of major CG cutscenes, and Fox has voice dialogue for almost every single NPC on the map and every story scene for the main campaign. In this way, it does feel like a Star Fox game because of how deep these characters are put into the main story. Now let's talk progression. This is an open world game where you've got this big star system full of planets that you can freely roam around in and explore. And you've got waypoints for your missions when you're done exploring and doing whatever else you want to do outside of just doing the missions. However, I would highly advise that you hold off on free roaming until you've gotten pretty far into the main game. At the very start of the game, there isn't a whole lot of variety in what you can do on each planet, but as you go through the story, you unlock a lot more stuff you can do in the free roam, and it makes it feel like there's a lot more to it. Now, speaking of the story missions, all of these missions are pretty much going to be either combat missions where you're flying around fighting enemies, or scavenging missions where you're sent across a planet or across multiple planets, or build some facility to appease a story objective. This is pretty simple and really lets you focus on the gameplay, which honestly is the best part about this game. You're in a starship flying around planets, seamlessly going into space, having intense dogfights with other spaceships and aliens. It's really intense and a lot of fun. And despite how intense it is, it's surprisingly simple to grasp. You only have 2 flying modes, one for flying around in the air or in space, and one for hovering above the ground on planets. And it's very easy to switch between the 2 modes. Outside of that, there are just a few small features like pulling up a shield to deflect bullets, and of course the maneuverability button when you want to use the boost, or you just wanna
do a barrel roll!
The bigger part of gameplay is, of course, the combat. Outside of the laser cannons that are built into the R-Wing's wings, you have a ton of different elemental weapon types that you can equip to any starship you want. And on top of that, you've also got a bunch of ship parts that you can use to, Lego style, combine them into whatever kind of ship you want, whether it looks good or looks like this. This leads not only to a bunch of different customization options, but a lot of different playstyles. If you combine the fact that all of the weapons do different stuff and all of the different pilots have different abilities, you can go through the game a second time and it'll feel completely different with what you're using. Now, as fun and exhilarating as the game is, it doesn't come without its little negative faults. There is one section of the game, one particularly large section, that makes the game feel very grindy. A little over halfway through the game, you get to a point where you have to go around your planet and start managing them like a sim game, building outposts, defending outposts, clearing out alien invaders. Now, all of this is really interesting and very different than what you were doing in the first half of the game. The problem is you get that type of gameplay and almost nothing else for a good 4 to 6 hours of the game. When you're doing almost no story stuff and just managing all that stuff over and over and over and over again, by the time you actually unlock the final story sections, it really starts to feel old and stale. They should have put a lot more different story stuff in between all of those management stuff than they did. Speaking of time though, how much content are you getting in this game? When I went through the game, I went back and forth between the easy and normal difficulties, and I cleared the game in a little over 20 hours. That includes doing the main story, the Star Fox main story, and a good chunk of the main side missions. Now once you beat the game, you can go back through the open world and clear up any unfinished side quests, along with fighting some post-game enemies that will incrementally spawn and attack your planets. Even so, I would put the entire game from start to finish, even getting those 100% post-game goals, at around 20 to 30 hours. Now let's dive into presentation. When you've got it docked, everything looks beautiful. There are a few jagged edges on the models here and there, but otherwise, it looks great. The environments are gorgeous to fly around and look at. The effects are really flashy and crisp. The only small blemish is that when you've got the game in handheld mode, there is a slight blurring effect on the models that are close to the camera. Performance I can't really complain about too much. The frame rate stayed perfect for the entire game, and I never saw it crash or freeze on me. But there were some small glitches that I noticed while I was playing. Every once in a while during a small cutscene, the voice audio wouldn't play when it's supposed to. And during some of the resource collecting missions, the HUD displaying the minigame for collecting resources every once in a while wouldn't pop up on my screen. Nothing game breaking or anything, but noticeable. Now let's get into battery life, which was pretty much what I expected. Starlink Battle for Atlas has a battery range of 2 hours and 18 minutes on higher settings, up to 2 hours and 49 minutes on lower settings. So, you know, around the same as the Zelda range. In conclusion, Starlink Battle for Atlas is a fun and intense open-world space dogfighting game. Now it's got some flaws like the grindy section towards the end of the game along with a few small glitches. But if you're a fan of starfighting game or just Star Fox, it's definitely worth taking a look at. Reviews to Go rates Starlink Battle for Atlas for the Nintendo Switch an 8.5 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below or head to the website at reviewstogo.com. Before I go, guys, I just want to do a quick thank you to all of the people who are donating to me on Patreon. So anybody interested, head on over to patreon.com/reviewstogo and help us along to the first goal, which will result in all ads removed from this channel. Thanks again for watching the review. Have a good day.